Recently, I was on a phone call and I noticed that, as always, I was loud on this phone call. I was saying hello, and I was trying to say a lot of things to this other person, but I noticed that the other person could not hear me. Not only that, I also noticed that I could not hear the other person. For a split second, I thought, what's going on? And I noticed that our TV in the other room was loud. So I started speaking louder through the phone. And at that point, I realized that the TV is getting louder. Now, this is the time when you feel like the TV is competing against you. And so I started speaking louder, and now that person can't hear anything. I can't hear anything, till the point I had to cancel the noise to hear what the other person on the line had to tell me. Canceling the noise to hear someone on the other line. Let me tell you, children of God, this week might have been really hard for all of us because of the noises around us. Here's one channel yelling at us about something. Here's another person giving us another information. At another time, we get a WhatsApp notification. Here's another email that we get from our workplace. We are bombarded with a lot of negativity all around us. And in the midst of this noise, can we cancel all of those noises around us to hear the one who wants to tell us something? There's a God who might be wanting to talk to you at this hard time. There is a God who wants to speak to you till the point you can hear with your ears. And for that, you will have to cancel every noise around you. So this Sunday morning, I hope that the environment that you're worshiping God in your houses are noise-free. It's okay if the kids are running around and all of those slight distractions, but try to keep everything away while we focus our hearts and our attention to God and really hear what God has to tell us by canceling all the noises around us. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 is speaking to 2020 Church of God. If you're a student, you might have maybe a lot of free time and you don't know what to do with that free time. I'll be giving you some ideas. But you may also be that student who might be graduating either from high school or college. You were hoping to get somewhere by fall of 2020, and you might be worried about that right now. There might have been major planning going on in your family for this year 2020, and right now everything is uncertain. You don't know what's going to happen. You might be that healthcare worker, that occupational therapist or a technician or a doctor or a nurse, worried about going to work or is at work right now. You might be a businessman, a small scale or a large scale businessman who don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 or 5 years. To all of you who are watching, who might feel like your future, your work, your livelihood might be affected by what's going on around us. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 gives us so much hope. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 gives us a lot of assurance. And what is that assurance? We'll be looking at what the problem is first, and then we'll look at how God is assuring His people through 2 Chronicles chapter 7. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verses 13 begins by saying, God telling you and me that when I shut the sky and there will be no rain. No rain. Or if I command the grasshopper to consume the land. Or if I send pestilence on my people. So we see two problems here. We see a situation of famine, starvation, or in other words, a financial meltdown, which people, nations, kings, presidents are really afraid of right now. All of the world countries are now afraid of a great financial meltdown that's about to hit our land. And this verse says, when that happens, when there's no rain, when I command the grasshopper to consume my land, or if I send a disease to my people, what will be the result? So there's a financial meltdown that we see. We also see a disease that could easily affect the people of God. We see through this that God promises that He will never leave us alone. It's not in another verse or in another chapter that God promises us, because the Bible is filled with assurances that God is with us. But right in this passage, God assures you and me that while all of this happens, while there is no rain, while grasshoppers devour our land, while pestilence will hit His people, God promises in His word that He will be with us. How will He be with us? That's mentioned. How will God be with us is clearly mentioned in these verses. If we read verses 15, we see, now my eyes will be open and my ears attentive to the prayers offered. So God promises that He will be there with us. How? His eyes will be open to see you. His ears, while all of this craziness is happening around us, His ears will be open to hear you. You know why God gives the reason for that? In verses 16, He says, because I have chosen you and my name will be among you forever, my eyes and my heart will always be there. While there is no rain, while pestilence hits our land, while grasshoppers devour our land, God says, my eyes, my ears, my heart will always be there with you. I will be with you while all of this is happening. While there's a financial meltdown, while diseases are almost at your doorstep, creeping into your workplaces, let me tell you, assuring you with the word of God, that God promises that He will be with you. How? His eyes will be seeing you. His ears are attentive to your prayers. If somebody breaks into your house at 3 o'clock in the morning, if I were you, I will immediately jump up. For a moment, I will be frozen. But the reason I'm frozen is because all of my senses are active. My eyes will be looking at what's going on. At 3 o'clock in the morning, my ears will be really curious to know what's going on around me. My body will be ready for battle. And the one who really cares for his house will be completely involved. God cares about you, child of God. God cares about your family. God cares about your future. And just like you and I, as heads of our household, as mothers, as children, will protect our house, God senses, His eyes, His ears, His heart is active right now in caring for His people. That brings you and me hope. That brings you and me comfort, knowing that when there's no rain, when there's grasshoppers eating, devouring our land, when pestilence hits our land, you and I can be assured that God is, His eyes are seeing it, His ears are attentive to our prayers, and His heart will be with you. When the fullness of time was come, Angel Gabriel appeared to Joseph. And this is what Angel Gabriel said in Matthew chapter 1, verses 21. He said, behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel. Emmanuel means God with us. We don't live in the Old Testament time anymore. We are privileged to live in the New Testament time, where the fullness of time came, a virgin gave birth to a son. His name is called Emmanuel, which means now God is with us. God is with us. Right where you are, tell it to yourself. Tell it upon your family. Tell it upon everything. Declare that over your life and say, God is with me. God is with us. He is with you and your family. He is with us and our community. So if you are a graduating student who feels like your next semester might be out of control, God is with you. Healthcare workers of different kinds who might be now worried about going to work or going to your hospitals, tell it and declare it over your life that God is with you. Business owners, tell it and declare it over your lives and over everything that you have that God gave you, that God is with us. As the worship team comes forward, Emmanuel, God with us, is with you. He is with you. In the fire, He is with you. In the flood, He is with you. He is our God.